Thank you, Larry. Clearly, the Republicans have taken every opportunity to criticize President Obama's health care initiative. Um, there's no evidence that the government will undercut the market in a way that makes it more difficult for private insurers or private companies that deliver private health care less competitive. It's a red herring and has been used repeatedly by the Republicans and their allies. We understand very well that all too often, even people with health insurance cannot afford the kinds of prices that market forces require of them. And the basic idea of the Obama administration with regard to the public option is to create an environment that's more competitive and drives down the cost of health care by market forces. If market forces have to respond to government initiatives or a single pay option, the basic idea is that they will reduce their prices over time. Now, the more complex part of that is, at least the argument that's offered by the critics of the Obama administration, is that over the course of the next 10 years, the cost of health care will increase. But what they fail to take into account are the reforms that President Obama and Nancy Pelosi and others have indicated they're going to institute, so that while the government brings down costs in a variety of other areas within the federal government, many of the arguments about the increased cost of health care are obliterated.
Well, let's see if we can go to a caller right now and see if we can get this call on the air and see what this caller has. Again, our number 1-800-467-3699. We'll see if we can get this caller. Good morning. You're on Talkback. Your comment or question. Okay, and we lost that caller, but again, give us a little time. We do have two in-studio guests this morning talking about healthcare, complicated subject, and we're going to try to let them finish their ideas as we go through, and we'll try to take this next caller on Talkback. Good morning. You're on Talkback. Your comment or question, please.
Good morning. I'd like to bring a couple of facts up. Number one, Jesus Christ never asked for a Blue Cross card. Number two, Senator Burr makes about $3,800 a week, and I understand his health care cost is about $25 a week, which means if you made $1,000 a week, it costs you about $6. Now, what's important is that, one, if you don't have good health care and cannot work, you can't make money. And we have the opportunity and the obligation to find a solution for health care so we can have employment, education, etc. for the general welfare of the general population. And you might note that I have seen figures that between 15 to 30% of the health care dollar goes for, there's nothing wrong with profit, but it also goes for administration and some waste and fraud. Now, the important thing of it is that if elected officials can find solutions for their health care, we should do the same for everyone. I think that you went through Canada here a while back. I don't know whether you listened to what the population discussed about health care. We need to find a solution so that people will be comfortable with what's going on. And what's important, the situation going on with race relations, we've been so divided with it and getting out of control with it that we can't address the solutions otherwise. I find that we need to have not a discussion, but an active participation where Obama or have a cabinet meeting, have people meeting at ballparks or whatever to address the situation so people don't become so inflamed with racial slurs or racial anger that we can't find a solution. And if we don't do that, you will never have this done in our generation. Would you not agree?
Okay, Ralph McKinney being on point as always, and also putting a lot on our plate this morning about what we need to talk about, and certainly other issues, social and domestic issues that get involved in the decision-making process and get involved in the integrity of the decision-making process are important. So the questions of how do racism and classism affect the way we pursue options in healthcare? Who are the players in healthcare? The insurance companies, the doctors, the administrative organizations, the pharmacies or pharmaceutical companies, all who right now like the system to a large extent the way it is because the profit margins are higher and they don't have to wring out the waste. Some of what we call waste are profit centers for other individuals. So again, overbilling, people would call waste if you're on the end of the person who has already paid a bill and you're saying it's a waste for you to be billed a second time. But if you're on the end of an organization that is billing you twice and may get paid twice for the same service, they will deem that profit. They won't deem that as waste. And so we have to have an honest discussion about the system, things going on, drug prices being higher than necessary, people getting more money than people would think would be fair on the drugs that are sold. And so generics come into play, and then the people who discover them will say, we don't want to have generics because it cuts down on our profits to the drug companies who develop the drugs. And the cycle or the circle widens, and certainly in many instances the drugs that are developed in conjunction with state universities doing research, in conjunction with private drug companies. So where is the public's percentage of the research dollar that went into developing the drugs? And so over and over we look at how complex this issue is and how much has to be done. We're going to go to a commercial break though and come back on Talk Back with the professorial moment here, come back with Professor Tony Powell, and we're going to talk about the state budget a little bit here in North Carolina, put him on the hot seat. He's been a prognosticator about what should be done and will be done and ought to be done, and now we're at a place that we're almost done, and we'll see where he stands with his previous predictions here on Talk Back. Remember our number, 1-800-467-3699, 1-800-467-3699. If you're in Durham, 941-1071. If you're in Raleigh, 821-1043, and the rest of North Carolina, 1-800-467-3699.
Friday night, August 7th, Phil Murphy and Urban Entertainment.